over the last couple of days I've been kind of doing detailed stuff on the engine bay, and what you see here is, well, it's still work in progress actually, but most obviously a couple of T-pieces have appeared on the scene, and those are for the heater to connect up to. So we now have a tail going through, and I do this, it changes to black, goes through from the T-piece, and it will go through, swiveling over again, it's going to go through the bulkhead at the top of the footwell actually, or the part of the footwell which is in here, which I've got a bulkhead connector coming for. Hopefully I can get a neat connection for the hot water into the heater, which of course is a combined air conditioning system, and you can see the hot water pipes hanging down there, and there will need to be a right angle, and accordingly I have a couple of these. Obviously they're much too long, which will go on there, and these are, it seems that the standard thickness for heater stuff is 5/8 of an inch, or about 16 millimeters possibly. So that's nearly done. There will need to be a valve connected as well. And I've got this one, which I think was from a Fiesta or something. So there's an on-off valve here, which I haven't quite figured out, but may well end up under here. And yes, I probably could use it as a bulkhead connector, but I think it's not particularly suited for mounting onto a bulkhead. Maybe it could be with a bit of surgery. But anyway, I've ordered a plastic bulkhead connector, which will go up under there somewhere and be joined on with these two elbows. So as well as that, I have discovered, if you like, that the Landrover radiator, which I have, is it's got an oil cooler built into it. Now, I really didn't realise that it had an oil cooler built into it. I kind of wondered why it had those separate unions. I shall just show you. There's two of these things. Two of those, one at the top and one at the bottom. And I had thought that they were for the heater. So this work, if you like, has happened together with the heater and the oil cooler. But it turns out, no, there's no connection at all between that and the rest of the waterway. In fact, even this overflow top hose connection is not connected to that. How did I establish that? Well, I put my mouth on it, I blocked up the other end, and I saw where air came out and where it didn't come out. So anyway, that's almost done. Although I do need to discover, sorry, I don't need to discover, I have recently discovered that the fitting here, this is incorrect. The one it came with was not this one. It was actually a tapered connection, looking very similar to this one, albeit made of aluminium. Have I actually got it here? Yes, I have. So yeah, I've got a number of connections here. This is the one that it came with, two of. These are two which nearly fit, but don't quite. So actually, because this is oil, we're talking about almost entirely useless. But the reason I can't use the actual one it came with is, well, I don't know how to get a right angle oil cooler type connection to go on here, which believes to be, or seems to be, again a thread that I didn't know what it was, although it did appear to be something similar to M20. So anyway, I've now discovered, or had explained to me by my friends down in Benfleet, hi Alan, that this is, the original one, is 3/8 NPT. And this is, the other end of it is M20 fine, but I don't seem to be able to get an oil fitting to go on M20 fine, so that's not very useful. But I do need to find it, so that's the most common oil fitting for oil coolers and such is half BSP, which is what this is, and you can get plenty of fittings to go on that. So I need to find out what that is, so because I can't really use this. I can't really use those either, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, I'm sure I'll discover or find the correct one to go in there in the end, and at least I now know that this is 3/8 NPT tapered. So that's why tapered is what's important, because it means it tightens up, and therefore you don't need a gasket or anything like that. So yeah, I'll get that sorted eventually. Another thing, as well as all that, I've started working on the wiring a bit more. Now I actually have got, it's going to be impossible to see, but the fan is now wired up, and that's good. The overflow over there is actually connected potentially to my header tank. It's got a spare end on it. Where's the end? There it is. Ready to go onto the header tank. Now the header tank, and I'm not sure I would have bought this, but I already had it knocking around, and you might recognise this as a typical header tank that you can get on eBay, no doubt made in China. But again, not quite as you would hope, because, ignore these for a second, the only mounting bracket is this kind of hoop thing with what's probably M6 and possibly M5 holes in. I struggle, in fact I do not believe that the weight of this thing, especially when it's full of water, is capable of being supported from one end only on this. So that's where these brackets have appeared. Now I've mocked those up because they actually have to go on the inner wing. Now the inner wing isn't a flat surface, so they were mocked up with cardboard and fiddling around and so on. And I had again my friends down in Benfleet, Alan, to weld those on for me, and so that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'll just mention that in order to fit this thing in, which is probably going to be quite a reasonably neat installation, I actually had to move my remote oil filter, which was previously just over here a bit, which had the effect, of course, of altering the lengths of the oil hoses that I need. So this is where you move one thing and that causes other things to need to change. So anyway, that's my next task. I'm going to now simply make some holes in these brackets, and I shall fix them onto the inner wing. Do you want to see me drill some holes? No, you don't really do. I'll just do it and come back in a sec. Right, here's my tank with 4 holes, which I've just drilled. This is where it's going to go, which is previously where the oil filter was. I've swiveled the windscreen wiper motor arm round so I can make sure that it most definitely clears down here. But also I need to make sure the height with the lid, which unfortunately I have left behind in Benfleet. So it's a little bit taller than this, but there's a rib on the back of the bonnet, which I hope you can see here. So I need to make sure there's going to be no interference before I can shut the bonnet. Now the thickness of, or height of that rib looks about 2 centimetres, hanging down by 2 centimetres below well, below this rubber, I guess. Maybe, let's call it 3 centimetres. Because this flange here rests on the rubber here, but the rib hangs down lower than that. Difficult thing to judge without actually physically doing it first. And of course I want to get this as high as possible so it can do its job as a header tank. Obviously the rubber squashes a bit. Right, I'm going to go with here, I think, and I'll drill one hole, and hopefully that will be enough for experimental purposes. And no, it won't. Right, well, I'll drill one hole then. I'll drill one hole and hope that is enough to hold it up while I just shut the bonnet as it experiments. So I'm going to go 3 centimetres below the top of the rubber. Well, actually, I'm going to go with about here, I think. It's more or less in the middle anyway. And it's pretty level as it is, so let's go with... Right, okay, I made a mark. You can see that drilling the hole... Sorry, oh no, actually it's not... I was going to say it's going to be difficult to drill the hole because of the, as you probably heard, the chuck catching on the side of the... on the side of the tank body. Right, I hope I don't finish up having to block this hole up like I did these 3 here, which were previously this. Anyway, let's have a check, see, yeah. And I've got these dome-headed Allen bolts for no particular reason other than I've got them, but they do look quite neat. Right, let's put a nut on the back of that. Right. Well, that's weird. Where's my nut gone? Ah! I see what I've done. I put it on the wrong thing. Which also explains why I couldn't do it up. Right, because there was that other one, there was already a nut on it. Right. So I hoist this up to my proposed position and see if the bonnet shuts. I'll lift it up slightly higher than it needs to go, and then we'll see if it gets pushed down. That noise is in fact the top. But of course the lid isn't there at the moment, so it will be very slightly taller. Yeah, okay, so if I just swivel it down to being, in fact I'm going to come round your side, see if it's fairly level. Looks like it could do with coming up slightly, actually. Right, I'll check that level again. I did push it down after I did that a moment ago. Yeah, that seems to be fine. Okay, so there are my glasses. Right, so I shall make marks. I shall have to use a pencil or something. I can't see my pencil. Black pencil and the black fiberglass. Unless that's it there. Could be. Alright, I can see it actually. With a bright light. So, having filmed all this segment a bit earlier on, I discovered that my camera had stopped working, so a quick review then. So the header tank with its new mounting brackets are welded on, which are welded on, are now very firmly in place. Do need to get my lid back though, please Alan. I've even got the overflow tube connected. Possibly this tube is a little bit on the short side, but it's the piece of rubber that I actually had, so that's why it is like it is. So I've pulled out the, I guess that's the bottom hose. This is how it's constructed. It would have been nice to get a continuous piece. It's got two joins in it which aren't necessary. But you've got to do what you've got to do when asking for non-standard hoses. Anyway, yes, I pulled this off, and the reason I pulled it off is because my thermostatic switch is, as you can see, pointing backwards, and because it has to go in here, that's causing it to point towards the body of the electric water pump. So I'm pulling that out. I've pulled that out so that I can swivel it round a bit. And what this is kind of showing is the detailed installations or installation issues are now coming to the fore, if you like. So that should go in there. Obviously you can't see what I can see, but trying to get the best comfortable angle. Yes, I'm going to use my miniature socket set equipped with a 7mm head on it, which I can get onto the hose clip just. So I've attached a flying lead to my thermostatic switch, but I haven't wired it up because of course I've realised you can't, those type of switches that go in line with the pipe like this one, there's like a knob with wires coming out the side, and you can't use those directly to control a great big fan like that. I need a relay, and I'm out of relays, so I've ordered some, so that will have to wait. The relay will be mounted down here. Yeah, I'll come back to that at a later date when the relays have turned up. So now I'm going to connect up the pipes to the heater matrix. Now that's the aircon pipes, which are work in progress. I've got these right angle bends which are going to make the pipes go over there, but I've just unplugged. It came equipped with these bungs, and it's a pity I didn't actually film it as I took the bungs out, but as I did the first one, it popped a bit like a champagne cork. So the whole thing has obviously been pressurised for testing purposes, I suppose. And well, it certainly isn't leaked. It hasn't leaked because it's been in the car for months, never mind how long I had it before that. Anyway, so I just need to cut these pipes down to about that much, I think. Right, so my hose is like that, and we'll go on like that, which is fine. But I'm just having second thoughts about my bulkhead connector that I mentioned, because I've got this thing, which is a heater control valve from a Fiesta or something like that. And I'm wondering if actually this could be my bulkhead connector. I did kind of mention this before, probably. Obviously this mounting bracket here is a problem, but I can easily cut that off, and then it has the potential to do the job I need it to do with a slight downhill tilt to it. I'll come back when I've experimentally cut those off. Oh well, here's my further modified Fiesta Ford, certainly, heater valve, and actually it looks ideal. Now I've cut the mounting bracket thing off. I think it was actually used as in a bulkhead type position on the original car. So I just need to, so it looks like I should be sending my bulkhead connector back when it comes, because I've already got one. So I just need to mount that on there, and there'll be a short piece of pipe connecting this to that. Irritatingly short, actually. I wish this was a bit longer on that side. Yeah. So I'll need some straight joiners. Straight joiners. A bit like a bulkhead connector, actually. It's kind of annoying. Well, I've trimmed a little bit more off my valve bulkhead connector thing, and I've drilled a couple of pilot holes, and it will go up there, and it looks pretty ideal from the other side. So I'm going to go and drill out, the rest of the hole. 5/8 or is that 16mm? I'm not sure. I'm sure I have. I might have to dig around to make sure I've got holes, drills big enough for that. Might need to be a hole saw. Not sure. Right, hole saw it is. Can I do this without? Oh, and my right angle drive. There we go. See, where is it? I put it down. Oh, it's over there. Typical. No, while I'm here, I'll put my pipe on. Well, there's been a good deal of further struggling. It's very nearly done, actually, although I'm not quite satisfied with the routing of this pipe over the chassis tube, so I may change this. But nevertheless, the whole thing with the bulkhead connector stroke control valve is very much there. It will unfortunately need its wire extended as it's too short to reach its partner. Oh well. But anyway. But yes. Anyway, it is very largely completed. So we have the header tank is now plumbed into the heater hoses, which indeed are going out through the bulkhead as I demonstrated a minute ago. I've even moved this overflow pipe so that it provides more slack over there. And guess what? I had to take the header tank off and put it back on again, because putting these hoses on here was surprisingly hard work. These are rubber hoses rather than silicone hoses, and they are so much stiffer. That was seriously hard work. That's really stiff compared to silicone ones, so had to be greased and so on. So they look quite similar, but silicone rubber, it's about 10 times stiffer. But still, it's nearly done. I might need to, well, I think I will get a couple of U-bends to just finish off that installation inside the cabin, and I'll need some more hose clips. Can't believe I've used so many. Still, nearly there. Oh, by the way, in case it's not to everyone's taste, why the red hoses, especially since some of the other ones I've used are indeed black? Well, it's quite simple actually. I already had nearly all of those hoses in stock from previous, let's say, experiments and other projects. So yeah, perhaps they might get swapped out for black ones at some point, but that is maybe. Anyway, it's getting there. So I need a relay for the fan switch. I need a couple more hose bends. Well, there's loads more wiring actually, but the cooling system side of it anyway is 99% complete. Well, after a bunch of experimentation, including all this interesting sculpture, eventually this is it nearly went into the car. I nearly got as far as actually soldering it. It's fixed together with tape at the minute, as you can see, and I do like to, when I do these sorts of things, I do like to not to use the joints with the ridge on, because it is smoother and neater. But anyway, I didn't get as far as soldering it, because I decided that the huge added complexity was simply not really worth it. So I've just gone with a simpler thing, looking for my light, which I can't see. Come back in a second. Yes, so eventually the plumbing pipes look like that, and my valve is wired up, the wires here. So yeah, simple. It would have been nice if it had been a bit higher up. I might need to make a cover or something that goes there. Maybe I'll change it later, I don't know, but you can't, when you're sitting in the car, you can't see it. So it's kind of sitting height, you can't see it at all. So yeah, oh well, that'll do for this little sub-project. And on the engine bay side, we have this. Excuse the wires that are hanging around there, because I'm just looking at another little project. But yes, we have the header tank, we have the oil filter, which is moved. A header tank that's been off and on a couple of times. but the wire, sorry, the pipe work, which goes underneath the tank and then through the bulkhead just here, that's fairly neat. And yeah, perhaps black pipe work would have been more appropriate, but I did have a lot of those pipes already, so there we have it. So just completing the radiator install with the built-in oil cooler. The radiator actually came with these fittings on it, which screw in the holes in there, obviously. But what the heck is the thread on the other end? It's some kind of metric thing, and what it certainly doesn't do is screw on properly to a 1/2 inch BSP oil cooler fitting, as you can see. So, and they're, strangely, they're made of aluminium as well. I mean, it's the similar metal, obviously, so it has that. But I wonder about the strength of it. Anyway, having discussed with my friend Alan, turns out that the thread in here is 3/8 NPT, which is a tapered thread, as they in fact are on these aluminium versions as well. 3/8 NPT, and it is a tight fit, obviously, because it's tapered. It has to kind of get started. And I've just done the top one, and I just need to get the, there it goes, the bottom one started as well. So I shall now be able to properly bolt on my oil hoses to the built-in oil cooler. So it's 1/2 BSP, 1/2 inch. Of course, we like to use a mixture of metric and imperial in the UK. So I have that degree of inconsistency, if you like, but who cares? I've lost the end. There it is. That's the bottom one. The advantage that tapered threads have is that they obviously they tighten up as you screw them in more and more, so there's no need for a copper washer or anything like that. Right, that's fitted. I just need to tighten that up some. There's a slightly larger size. Perhaps I need to take the hose off and use a socket on it. No, in fact it's even bigger than that, 27. Now, interestingly, in fact I'll show you this before I finalise my installation here. If you look very carefully, can I make you focus? The tip size of the slightly less shiny one, oh, wrong end, the one on the left is aluminium, and the tip size is actually slightly narrower than the other one, slightly narrower than this one, which makes this one screw in slightly more easily than this one. But of course they're tapered, so as long as you can get it started it'll kind of tighten itself up, and that should be okay. Anyway, we know it does go in, so I shall just spanner it in. Just. So these are dissimilar metals, aluminium and steel, or be it anodised or galvanised, whatever that is. But anyway, we do need antifreeze. screw it in too much. There we go. And the same with the bottom one, which I'm going to need an extension bar for. Bloody typical, isn't it? Right, that'll do, I think. And now I can put my half BSP oil lines on there. One of which has disappeared out of sight. There it is. Okay. I'll just tighten that up. There we are. So that should be my cooling system complete. Is it complete? I think there's a couple of hose clips, sorry, needed on the heater inside the car. But and what's the and this hose here, which is an overflow. I need to swap this out for because this is actually a fuel line. I'll need the fuel line, so I've actually ordered some ordinary rubber hose to use for this section, so that's going to be changed as well. Okay, so it's not quite done, very nearly, not quite. Anyway, it's good to get that little problemo sorted out. Identifying threads, so that's my third attempt. I got a metric, I got can't remember what the other one was, but anyway, luckily Alan was able to ID it for me. If you got as far as this, thanks very much for watching, and in case you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. That would be really encouraging for me. So catch you on the next one.